It's chopping time. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And this is the Week 13 recap, where we're going to go over 16 games that happened in the span of, how many days? About 6 days, I felt like.
5 days.
It was more like 5 days, but it felt like all week. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. So we're going to go over news first before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty things of each game. I guess to kind of start off the biggest one, or at least almost immediately following the first game. Ding dong, the witch is dead for the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus is finally fired.
Yeah, that's just about time.
I have a couple family members who were screaming for his head since the beginning of the season, probably even before that too. So they probably feel a little bit better now.
I mean, to be fair, I was screaming for his head last year, and then they were like, Justin Fields. So
yeah, well, last year was more of Matt Eberflus specializes in certain areas, and they thought that he could develop it a little bit differently, but obviously that hasn't changed. So yeah,
nope.
Suck to suck.
The coaches just get fired. And I believe, if I saw that correctly, the interim head coach is going to be the offensive coordinator.
I believe so.
Who, as we know, was already an interim offensive coordinator for Shane Waldron when he was fired. So
I think it was in the span of a week. He went from being an interim to another interim. So
he went from down here to I am now the interim head coach.
He got a huge promotion in the span of a week. So congrats, dude.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
Looking at some other news. Let's see. The Ravens are suspending Deontay Johnson because he refused to play against the Philadelphia Eagles.
I did see that. I don't know much about that situation. Maybe you can give a little bit of insight. Nothing much to it, probably.
Not much. I mean, he's not been a big contributor, so it's not like a huge deal, but it's kind of whatever. Looking at some other things, though. I mean, there's two sides to this. Regarding the hit on Trevor Lawrence from the Jags-Texans game, Azeez Al-Shaair was suspended, I believe it was 5 games.
Yes, it was 5 games.
And Trevor Lawrence, after sustaining a concussion in that game, has been placed on IR and is likely to miss the rest of the year. So,
yeah,
kind of two sides of that.
Lawrence deserves better.
I agree. I definitely agree that he didn't. That was, probably
terrible coaching his entire career in the NFL. He's been through a lot. Unfortunately for all of you Taysom Hill fans, he is now out for the season. I forgot what injury he sustained. I think it was an ACL or something in his leg.
He's just actually if we're just looking at injuries in general, there are a few people who sustained season-ending injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Treylon Burks sustained one.
Treylon Burks, Taysom Hill, Trevor Lawrence.
Christian McCaffrey is now out for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey Mason has been placed on IR, so he will miss most of the rest of the season, coming back, week 18 maybe?
Okay, so that's 5.
So
yeah, those were the big ones I've heard of. Yeah, CMC with a non-contact injury was terrible to watch. So,
and completely unrelated to his other injury.
No, it was just something that just happened.
So
I think the Madden curse just strikes again.
Yeah,
because he was on 2 Madden covers technically.
I mean,
usually the regular, the deluxe.
They usually use the same person for Madden covers, but
2 different pictures. Whatever. If you want to get really technical, I guess. Point still being, That sucks. I hope all of them can have a speedy recovery, though. That is terrible news regarding those kind of injuries, especially with a couple non-contact ones, which is sad and sucks. So I hope for the best for them. But yeah, I think it's time to kind of get into the games then.
Yeah, we'll cover some of these games really quick. I mean, there were some interesting ones, some also not so interesting ones. But I don't know. You want to kick it off with maybe the game that got Eberflus fired?
Yeah, so I actually watched that whole game. I think I was able to watch was it Thursday? I was able to watch every Thursday game, every Friday, the one Friday game. I think a couple games on Saturday, Sunday, college and NFL. But the Bears didn't look very great going into the game. Towards the second half, they started picking up just a little bit, and then we get to the final drive. I'm going to say this, though. I don't think Caleb Williams should get any blame towards him unless we're talking about him personally trying to call a timeout. If it's just like the play itself or anything else, that's not on him. Mm-hmm. I think it was just him forgetting, oh, shoot, I got to call a timeout. It's a rookie mistake. That happens. Everything else is Eberflus's fault. I think that's just what I've seen.
My favorite thing that I love to, or one of my favorite things to nitpick, is people look at that and say that's Caleb Williams' fault. Mm-hmm. And technically, it is, because Caleb Williams was out there on the field, and a lot of people point this out. Once they're out on the field, it's the players making the decisions. What people forget is the reason why that stuff comes back to the coaching is because coaches can't impact really what happens on the field that much. Mm-hmm. The way they impact that is what they do off the field.
Yes.
And so the reason why that Caleb Williams incident comes back to Eberflus is because that should be handled better.
Yep.
That should be taught, and it's not. That's not Caleb Williams is dumb or a bad quarterback. That is, he has been coached improperly. And people forget that if Williams is out there making mistakes or looking not great, not developing, that's not all on him. And a lot of it isn't. He's showing a lot of potential. A lot of the issues come back to Eberflus not coaching the team very well. And so that is why he was fired. And I think a lot of people understand that. The people who think that his only fault is that he didn't call a timeout, no. Because you should teach your team better. You didn't need to call a timeout. You could have ran a play. Williams didn't treat that play with any pace, though. He waited 3-4 seconds when he didn't need to, and that's why all of that came down to poor coaching, poor time management, and that should be something that should be taught in practice, and clearly it wasn't, and that comes down to coaching. And so that's just one of my favorite. Something I find really funny is that people forget that is the coach's job. It's not to do everything from the sidelines. Most of the coach's job is to do stuff from practice.
Yeah.
So good for the Bears to get him gone, because he was okay for the defense, but otherwise he was just not a good coach.
No.
So yeah, unfortunate for the Bears that they continue to lose, but maybe they'll turn a leaf. Maybe. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the other Thanksgiving games, because Cowboys-Giants was just ugly. I mean, you had Drew Lock versus Cooper Rush.
Drew Lock didn't do terribly for most of it. There were definitely a lot of mistakes, but Drew Lock wasn't awful.
It just wasn't pretty. It was ugly football.
It was just scrappy. That's all it was. And the Parsons comment, "Don't count us out." Mm-hmm. I've counted you out ever since you've been under 500. So,
I mean, they're battling back to 500, but they're still.
But they're not really going to contend for anything. So,
yeah, they're still behind quite a few teams.
The NFC is there's a lot of competition in the NFC, so they're really gonna try to claw back, if anything else. So.
I mean, that's all they can do. Moving along to the Packers Dolphins. I mean,
Wait, hold on a second. Aren't
Oh.
the Giants technically eliminated though?
the Giants, I believe they are. I believe they did get eliminated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the first team that is on the chopping block. Goodbye, New York Giants.
Yeah, and I believe we actually called that correctly,
Yep.
that they would be first. And I believe we also said it was literally just going to be because they would play earlier, like a timing thing.
And you
which
said it was going to be played earlier, but I did
Yeah.
say that the Giants were going to lose first.
Yeah, we were like same week,
Yeah.
but because we have several. But yeah, we'll move along. We'll not talk too much of the Packers Dolphins because about as expected.
Tua still can't win in the cold. Neither can the Dolphins. They're like what 1-15, 1-16, and temperatures lower than 40 degrees.
I mean, Tua still went out and played well though.
Yeah, he did fine. I think it was just the team around him that just was not good. So, Dolphins, if you really want to try and get into the playoffs, which is very unlikely at this point, good luck. That's all I'm going to say. But we're getting into the colder months, so anytime you go anywhere that's cold, it's not looking too promising. Packers. I did see that Jordan Love has not thrown a pick in 2 weeks.
Yay!
Took him a while. So yeah. So maybe he won't beat Brett Favre, or maybe he will beat Brett Favre in certain situations.
We'll see. But
Yeah.
move along.
The most frustrating game this week.
Yeah, it's kind of up there with it's almost up there with Bears and Lions, except people were actually rooting for the Raiders.
Yeah, and they almost pulled it off.
Yeah,
They almost did, except when you have a rookie at center who was very stressed, and I think a little bit of anxiety got to him with how loud the stadium was, and
Yeah, it
just
just
miscues, and he snapped the ball too early.
it's a rookie mistake, a really dumb one. It's just a dumb way to lose. Not surprising for the Raiders because they've just not been good this year.
No, but they almost did it.
They almost did,
And
and I don't-
O'Connell wasn't bad that game. I watched that game. O'Connell wasn't that bad.
I think a lot of that actually goes back to the Raiders' defense, though.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders' defense has not been great this year, but
Yeah,
they seem to have. They were able to dial up some pressure on Mahomes. Crosby just.
Crosby he was being 3-manned, and he was still moving them around.
Yep, he was
a couple
getting triple
bombs
teamed.
from O'Connell to like Tucker.
Tucker played well.
Yeah,
too.
Tucker had a great game, so I was very impressed with that. I mean, it was unfortunate. It's just there was a lot of controversy. It depends on who you ask about the end of the game. Some saying that the Raiders, like, the whistle was blown dead before the ball was snapped. I did hear that live TV. I know there's a couple of like weird situations about that, especially with some people claiming that even if it was a recovery for the Chiefs, the whistle was still blown dead before they snapped the ball. I think it would have been like a penalty or whatever it was on the Raiders anyways, which would have, I think, taken them out of field goal range too.
I mean,
So
so another part of it is there was a illegal formation or illegal shift.
maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people also thought that it should have been a delay, or not a delay of game, a false start, because a lot of people weren't set.
Yes.
And a false start would have replayed the
Played the
down,
down.
while illegal shift plays out the play. And so there were some people who just weren't happy about it. That's just one of those things where you have to be nitpicky with the rules.
It was a very interesting play. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised though. It was just another one of those where I was like, I don't like it, but
Well, the Chiefs are currently using black magic to get to 11-1, so
Black Magic on Black Friday. But that does
checks out.
that game actually did have my first set of flowers. Just wanted, I mean, he's in contention for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It goes to Brock Bowers. Having just a good game against still one of the best teams,
Yeah.
annoyingly.
Good defense too.
Yeah, indeed. Even though it didn't look as good on Friday, but Brock Bowers, 140 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I could have given it to him or Tucker. Both played well.
Bowers deserved it, in my opinion.
I'm giving Bowers because it's kind of just an accumulation.
I believe he is second in receiving yards for rookies this year. I believe that's the stat that I saw.
There's a lot of good offensive rookies from this class. There's a lot of
And
guys
Bowers
up there.
is top 3 right now. I think actually top 2.
Ugh.
I think he's number 2. He's not 1 though.
Maybe it is position, but if you're looking all rookies, that's a conversation for another day. I believe there's something you'd like to mention about this game though as well regarding the Raiders.
You also deserve the chopping block with that pathetic performance. I'm kidding. It was a very classy rookie mistake. Very unfortunate that it had to be against the Chiefs of all teams. But you're done. Your season's been over since week 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
So get out of here.
It's officially done now. So
You're done.
you're done.
You're done.
Then we had some Sunday games that were really close games, but not
Yes. It was weird games.
not like super interesting, but like interesting, but not like normal sense of interesting. They were
No.
just like really stressfully close.
Yes.
Let's bounce through some of these real quick. Especially the early slate. Chargers outlast the Falcons. Chargers have one of the as far as points per game allowed, one of the best defenses in the league.
Yep.
Um,
It's pretty obvious at this point.
we had we could look to the Steelers-Bengals game where I believe that was the highest scoring matchup between those two in history.
Yes, I did
That
see
is
that.
the highest with a combined, was it 82 points?
44-38 was the final score. So,
So, yeah.
good job, I guess, both teams. I guess the only reason why the Steelers ever put up that many points is because you were going against the worst defense in the league. So, like I said, just because you put up 44 points does not mean that I still do not trust that offense whatsoever. So,
Yep. Cardinals-Vikings came down to the wire.
yeah, I did see that the Cardinals had 6 trips in the red zone and only had 1 touchdown out of it. So, oof. Shaq Griffin and Brian Murphy got interceptions. So, congrats to them. The Vikings defense is pulling through when it needs to, but
Yep.
a little close for comfort, I would say.
Yeah.
10-2 though.
I've not been giving the defense enough credit, which says a lot because I still like the defense, but yeah, it's a very talented defense.
Good defense.
Very well run by Brian Flores. Props to them. Moving on to the Colts and the Patriots. The Colts barely outlast the Patriots. The Patriots not really playing for that much. Just honestly,
Spoiler at this point, because the Colts are technically in contention for that division title. Technically,
this is true. And I mean, but also if you're the Patriots, you're just happy to see Drake May out there and actually performing well. Like, this is, he might actually be a solution. Like, he actually looks good,
Yeah,
and
for
that's
once.
exciting.
Yeah.
Because that's the first glimmer of hope you've had since Brady left. So
Unfortunately, that hope will probably have to wait until next year because you are also eliminated from the playoffs. I still don't like you, Patriots.
yeah, moving along as well.
Gosh,
Seahawks Jets was just an ugly game.
I didn't even watch the game, and I saw the score. I'm like, what is going on? And I kept checking in once in a while with like play updates and everything. I'm like, well, oh my gosh, Aaron Rodgers, you might have to retire. Like, genuinely, like it's over. There is no reason that you guys are that bad. I also think it's mostly falling onto the owner, however, especially with how fast they were going through some of the coaches and the front staff. However, letting Aaron Rodgers be basically de facto leader of that team was not a good idea.
No.
But I will say this, though. Leonard Williams, one-man wrecking crew. I think he had both sacks and a pick six for the Seahawks.
And his in a return home, because that's where he played most of his career, was in MetLife for the Jets and Giants.
That's just
So
Good for him.
nice little reunion for him.
Yeah.
Ugly game otherwise.
Yeah, it's very ugly.
Speaking of ugly games, there was the Commanders Titans that started off. Was it 28?
28-0. Yep. Took a while.
We did say, or at least I said, Commanders needed to get back on track, and this was the game to do it, and they did.
Yeah, I agree. I agreed with you on that one.
And they did it.
Took a bit, but they did it. Daniels McLaurin went off, so congrats to them. Yeah, McLaurin did decent in fantasy, so I'm happy about that. So
Aren't we?
took a while.
Oh, I guess not those who played against him. Looking at this game, we mentioned it a little bit with the Aziz Al-Shair hit. The Texans just still not really pulling away games they should.
Nope.
So a little concerning for them there.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones came in and did pretty decently in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but
I mean,
He can
besides
only do so
that,
much.
I mean, after the hit on Lawrence, the fight broke out, and then Al-Shair actually, did you see the post about his apology on like a notes app or whatever it was?
I saw some mentions of it, but I never actually got to look at it.
I looked at it and it was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, because a lot of people are like, yeah, if a man is writing on his notes app, and he's really serious, and I'm like, and then he's suspended, so whatever.
Yeah.
And I believe that is also the last team that is eliminated. Jacksonville, it was kind of a uphill battle ever since. So, unfortunately, you also get the axe.
Yeah.
No, we'll figure something out.
I'm surprised that wasn't the first domino to fall.
No.
But I don't know. Somehow that team allowed them to get eliminated from the playoffs before firing Doug Peterson, though.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Looking at some of the
Other
yeah,
big
I won't.
games.
No, there's not much to talk about the
No.
Rams Saints game. It was
Derek Carr is still not the answer. Rough win. I think the Saints were up at half as well, but the Rams came back and pulled away with a victory. Buccaneers and Panthers went into overtime.
that was actually a pretty good game.
Bryce Young is actually looking not that bad.
Surprised you give him a coach that believes in him. You give him a coach that believes in him, some talent around him, and just a chance to sit and learn, and he actually can develop.
Yeah,
That's like
almost 300 yards. So in total,
he's
So
been
did
playing pretty well the last few weeks, and Panthers actually looked like a pretty competent team.
Mm-hmm.
And I
yeah.
think if you're a Panthers fan, you have some excitement going forward because no, your team is not built up to win a lot of games right now, or most of the games remaining.
Yeah, but
But
it looks better than it was.
you're showing the ability with the people you have there to potentially win games in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that you can go into this offseason and hope for some decent pickups and to hopefully actually, win a decent amount of games next year. I mean, if you get the good pieces, you can do it because there's like a coaching turnaround. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But looking at how that game ended, basically from Panthers had a chance to win it, and they pretty much lost it off of a Hubbard fumble, which is heartbreaking.
Remember still has it. He's still sitting on that bench. Moving on. This was the one game that Will might not be super happy about. Barkley had, almost a little over 100 yards on the ground. Tucker needs to either be benched, let him, practice a whole lot more, or just get a replacement kicker for the time being. Because there's something going on with Tucker. I know there's a lot of kickers out there recently who've also sucked. It's probably just a league-wide thing. However, with Tucker being as consistent as he has been, it's a bit concerning. So I don't know what the answer is to that because you're this fan here. I'm not going to.
It's just a case of, again, what's going on in the NFL, because it's not just him. He's getting a lot of attention for it because, I mean, it's not, he's probably been hit the hardest by whatever's going on. But it's also probably just happened the most. I don't know really what's up with him. This is not something we usually see out of him.
No.
And it's just, I don't know, it's concerning, and I don't like the look of it, because I don't know, I feel like he's still a very competent kicker. I don't know if he's got some yips going on or whatever. You could definitely say that he could have cost us that game because he gave up 7 points with 2 missed field goals and an extra point, and that could have been enough to flip that game. But it's just, I don't know. It's unfortunate to see him go in this direction after he's been the best kicker in the league since he came into the league up until this year. So I don't know what's going on. But again, it's not just him. It's just multiple. It's a lot more noticeable with him. Mm-hmm. But it was not a pretty game. Eagles, again, their defense is very good. Those young players are playing very well. I'm very proud of them for that. Eagles handing the Ravens their second loss to an NFC team. You know, I'll take it. It's a good team. If we were to hand that loss to a second team, I mean, I don't have a problem with that being the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a good team this year. So currently leading the NFC behind the Lions. So, however, there is also another NFC team that is falling off those top spots. 49ers visiting the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen had a receiving, passing, and a rushing touchdown.
Yeah. He had I believe 2 passing touchdowns.
Well, yeah, 2 passing touchdowns, but
I mean, it's no surprise, but he's my second set of flowers for the week as he's really launched himself up in that MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm. Second, I believe.
Right now he might be front runner. He's been very spectacular, playing way beyond his what he has before. Mm-hmm. Just solid win. Nice snow game for the Bills.
Yep. They clinched the division in this playoff spot, so they're in there.
They did. But yeah, that game was over pretty much halfway through the second.
Yeah, it was over. I did see a video of a fan trying to knock a field goal or extra point from the Niners with a snowball, and it almost hit it, which was funny. So it's somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, but yeah, Bills just go out there, have some fun in the snow. It was whatever for them. 49ers just had a bad time losing 2 of their running backs, not playing well anywhere. No. It was just ugly. So Bills, like you mentioned, clinched division.
Yep.
And they're on their high horse right now. And then finally we have the Monday night game, which does have my third set of flowers.
I think I know who it is too, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. It's kind of obvious. It is not to one Jameis Winston.
Dang it, no.
Even though he had a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but
the most Jameis Winston game you'll ever see.
It's just the way he
Tell your children about this game.
But no, the flowers actually goes to Jerry Jeudy in a revenge game.
Yeah.
With
amazing
well over 200 yards.
I think
touchdown.
I think in fantasy he went from 30th to 5th in one game or whatever it was, or some stat.
He had himself a really good game. This game was interesting. Browns defense hasn't been spectacular this year, so I'm not surprised that they allowed points, but the Broncos allowing
that many points was not under my bingo card.
Yeah, allowing the most points since they played the Ravens.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's weird, but it was a shootout between these two that involved 2 pick sixes, some very big plays. Actually, a pretty exciting game just in general. But
also, Bo Nix threw 1 less touchdown to the Broncos than Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So it was a very interesting game. Pretty fun one to watch, and I think Broncos should be pretty excited about what they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And if you're the Browns, obviously keep Jameis Winston. But looking to next year, maybe having Jameis Winston isn't a bad idea, especially with his motivation speeches. So
he's a good guy in the locker room, but
yes.
um,
And now we must move on to the power rankings.
yes, absolutely. So try and keep this a little bit quicker than usual.
Let's go for 10 through 1, lightning round.
All right, number 10.
I wanted to move the Chargers up, but it's still the Commanders because they won. Chargers are very, very close 10th place right now. So
No, that's fair. I actually do have the Chargers just outside, but I actually have Broncos at 10
okay.
because, yeah, you'll see. Things a little bit differently, but I have the
I'm
Broncos.
curious to see what your top teams are. Number 9, Broncos.
We did a little switcheroo. I have the Commanders here after
Oh.
a really big bounce back game.
Okay.
I give them a little bit of credit, and again, I think if they get back to form, they're going to be easily top 10, if not top 5 team.
Okay. Number 8, I have the Vikings. That defense has impressed me. A little bit of a close game against the Cardinals, I know, but that defense won that game. Makes me believe that the Vikings might actually make some noise in the playoffs. So,
Yeah, I think I've been slacking a little bit too much on the Vikings, mostly just because they haven't been playing the way that we kind of might have hoped at the beginning of the year. But I'm
10-2.
giving them some of their credit. I don't have them here at 8 though. I have the Packers at 8. I mean, you beat up on a Dolphins team in the cold that can't play in the cold, so who's surprised?
Okay. Number 7, I have the Steelers.
Oh,
I did not move them. They're the same place as they once were. So
yeah, well, lower than I do. I have the Vikings here at number 7.
okay, well, the Vikings there makes sense too.
Yeah, they've been playing very well. I mean, they're winning. It's maybe doesn't look as convincing as most teams do, but I think they're winning. Their defense looks good, and they got that talent. So 7.
All right. Number 6, I have the Packers.
Mm.
Yeah, I know. Like they didn't move either. It was just more of a they beat the opponent and also the teams that won and lost changed. So yeah.
That's fair. At number 6, I have tragically the Baltimore Ravens, who are on a 2-game skid, and just not playing. They're just not winning games. Not looking as good on offense.
No, you have the potential, but I don't know what that team is doing.
Just struggling.
Yeah.
But
But for number 5, I still have the Ravens. They dropped a couple spots. They didn't drop as far, only because of who also dropped and who moved up. Still a good team. I need to see some changes on that coaching and scheming. Otherwise, they will continue to drop and lose games. So,
at number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs because it's where I had them last week, and I continue to keep them there. I mean, you almost lost to the Raiders. Again, division opponent, but you can't. I mean, at some point,
you can't lose like that, or can't win like that. That's fair. I have for number 4 the Kansas City Chiefs because same reasons. I actually had number 3 last week. I dropped them a spot, basically the same reason. But that also means that someone also moved up to number 3 as well.
I'm guessing it's the team that I also have at number 3. Number 4, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers because, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel like they deserve to be over the Ravens and Chiefs right now, as much as I hate that. But yeah, that's where they're at.
Number 3, it's the Eagles.
I also have the Eagles, and I could probably guess you're 2-1 as well.
What? No way.
Two.
Our number 2s are probably the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
And then our number 1s are obviously the Detroit Lions.
Yep. Bills and Lions not gonna move.
Unless something weird happens.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Bills just almost playing to the level the Lions are. Lions just have, honestly, well, Bills obviously played better, I think, this last week, but they had a much stronger advantage, I feel like. But that will wrap up week 13 recap. Apologies for this coming out so late. I wasn't feeling well this week, as
He was sick.
I had
Very sick.
made my trip back. Usually doesn't go well for me, so wasn't feeling well. Apologies for being a little late, but it's here, and soon will be the preview for next week. So thank you for joining us. Any parting words?
More will be chopped soon. This X, it's thirsty. Hungry? Man, take it as you will. It wants more teams to chop.
Thrungy.
Thrungy. Thrungy.
All right, well, see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.